person, Dr. Raghavendra Achari, has got a doctor of degree in plant pathology from University of Agricultural Science, Bengaluru. PG diploma in nanobiotechnology. Sir has a 9 years of experience in research and extension. Has implemented agro biodiversity and nutritional baseline survey project funded by GIZ Germany. Sir has several chemical testing trials also. Worked mainly on the grapes, pomegranate and acid lime, focusing on residue-free production technologies and diseases of recasting in major horticulture crops. Worked on viral diseases of tomato also. Participated and presented a paper at the 6th International Tomato Conference held at NCHU, Taiwan. Working with IIM Bangalore regards application of IT approaches like machine learning and AI in plant disease forecasting. Sir is presently working as the Assistant Professor of Plant Pathology, College of Horticulture, Mundrabad, Koppal. Sir's concept is microbial food in diet and health aspects. Sir will now present his topic on microbial food in diet.
Good afternoon to all. I first of all congratulate the organizer for giving me an opportunity to share few of the information with respect to the use of or potential of microbial foods in day-to-day diet of everyone, especially the sports related person. Today, before actually starting to the topic, let us understand uh, diet is a wholesome concept which includes more than getting a nutrition. It is also some other information, some other component is also required for a proper diet. And there are so many components we do rely upon to complete our dietary requirement. Among them, the microbes. Use of microbes is the one of the major component of our day-to-day diet. If you just look back to the microbial foods or the association of microbes or contribution of microbes to our day-to-day diet includes there are so many historical documents or historical information we can draw. That means humans, basically the microorganisms are the first to form on the earth surface. They are primitive to this earth planet than the recent human beings or any animals. That means they do have the acclimatization property to this earth planet much more than the other evolved animals. And if you just look back to the some of the evidences, we can draw the use of microbes by the human beings dates back to around 10,000 years BC in Neolithic period itself. And basically, the human beings during those days rely upon microbes for fermentation purpose. Fermentation basically breaking down of the complex available food molecules, either may be grains or some other sources, to smaller, easily palatable. The fermentation basic objective is to increase the nutritional property or make it easily digestible as well as making it more palatable or improving the organoleptic qualities. This is what we basically look at fermentation process being mainly driven by the microbes for our dietary requirement. And if you just the scientific documentation or more work on the fermentation process is basically we can document the work of Louis Pasteur and the subsequent scientists during mid of the 19th century. The fermentation, very well defined fermentation processes have been studied and explored on a industrial basis. Till then, it was a home driven or specific to their families, the fermentation process was carried out. But when after that, the industrialization process has begun in the exploring the fermentation for food. Basically, today, if today's topic revolves around direct consumption of microbes or exploring those microbes for making the some of the value added products out of the available raw materials. Direct consumption basically we pinpoint on the use of edible fungi. Basically, they are mushrooms because these mushrooms they do naturally grow and as well as based on our requirement we have started cultivating them also. Cultivation basically we are using the agricultural wastes, agricultural straw, any cellulose containing material basically used as a raw material for the production of these mushrooms. And the second group of microbes we use may not be in a direct consumption, but after the processing as a thickening agents in the ice creams. Whatever the ice creams we do consume, those contains a thickening agent. It is basically a edible algae. And if you look into the dairy products, bakery products, and also the wine or any fermented juices, we do see the role of yeast. Yeast is we are not directly consuming it. Part of it is directly being consumed, but it drives the process of improving the nutritionality, thereby contributing greatly to the diet. That is yeast, because there are so many vulnerable populations throughout the world for the gluten, which is the staple cereal, that is wheat. Many people cannot digest all part of the wheat. That means gluten cannot be digested by many people. Under such circumstances, yeast come to a rescue. That's why if you look into the dietary pattern of Western people, they do consume bread. We may feel that those people regularly eat bread because they have come to know that fermented wheat, especially the yeast fermented wheat in the form of bread, is more digestible and nutritionally rich than directly consuming the wheat. And the third last group of microbes we rely upon is the bacteria. As this bacteria prefers protein rich media for their growth and also carbohydrate rich media for their growth. Hence, these bacteria we are directly associating with the milk and milk products. Milk and milk products mainly includes there are so many yogurts are there, cheese is there, and so many other products are there. Milk driven products. Those products, the bacterial association, especially the lactobacillus association, is very much present. The milk, because the similar to the wheat vulnerable population, there are vulnerable population in the world, especially in northern India and other temperate countries. Some races of the population, human population, cannot digest the milk directly. Hence, they mainly rely upon the bacterial fermented or bacterial processed dairy products. And these dairy products play a major role in our day-to-day diet. Before moving on to the mushrooms in detail, My topic basically, I think there are so many other concepts have been dealt with, especially the composition of require dietary requirement of protein, carbohydrate for different group of people. That is for sportsmen, or for day to day life, for lactating mothers, for students or children. Like there will be separate so many group of population which require specific dietary supplements, and those topics have been covered, but my main focus for today is introducing you people to those foods, especially the microbial foods, which are not so explored in India, whereas they have been explored at a very high level in other part of the world. And we will move on to the first edible microbial food is mushrooms. If you just look into the world scenario, the mushroom production and consumption is the China tops the country in the world list for both production as well as the consumption. They contribute more than 70% for the production, and they consume very high amount of mushrooms. If you just look into the India's position, India hardly, even though there is a very high potential is there, India hardly contribute for the production as well as the consumption, because in Indian agrarian socialistic stature, we definitely produce lot of agriculture waste, which is basically a cellulose rich waste, like any cereal straw or any of the crop residues which are rich in cellulose, that can be definitely used for the production of these type many mushrooms, but we are not exploring them, and rather we are practicing to burn them. If we properly explore the or properly utilize the agricultural residue, basically containing cellulose, we can definitely shoot up our production, because there is in world market there is a huge demand is there for the mushrooms. And in Indian context, just if you compare to the China, we hardly consume any mushrooms. There is a social stigmatization is also there, and we people believe it's a non-vegetarian. Basically or botanically we can say mushrooms are a fungal group of organisms. Fungus means, by definition we say fungus is a plant without true root and true shoot. That means it's a primitive plant, and it does not have any chlorophyll, and it can never come to the animal kingdom. We classify them under the plantae only, kingdom plantae only. Hence, we have to accept that these mushrooms are basically vegetarian food. We cannot, and we have to avoid grouping them as non-vegetarian and avoiding them to consume them. That's why India, in Indian context, hardly 80 gram per capita per annum consumption as against the 22 kgs. That means it is some 100 or more than 100 times we lag behind, because if we properly utilize, there are two advantages, because we are getting the diet as well as we are recycling the agricultural waste. And if we move on, let us move on to the what are the major benefits of these mushrooms. If we go to any doctor, and nowadays lifestyle related problems, we can enlist our diabetes, hypertension and coronary diseases. All these are, we are linking it to the either the fat content in your diet, or the cholesterol we can say, or else the sodium or salt content. These two are mainly creating lifestyle problems. And if we look into the mushrooms, they does not have any fat or cholesterol, either protein also. And also they are very low in sodium. Apart from that, they have got very good beneficial components, dietary components like vitamin B, riboflavin, niacin, pantothenic acid, selenium, and some antioxidant like ergothioneine and copper. We will go into details one by one. If you look into the major benefit, nowadays there are so many research information supports the anti-cancerous property of these mushrooms. Wherever the mushroom consumption is more, those populations do have are supplemented with the mushrooms, definitely reduce the risk of cancer, because as I told it, they are free from the cholesterol, or we can say very low in sodium content, as well as they are fat free. And besides that, these mushrooms, the caloric value also less, but they are rich in edible fiber. That means they add volume to your diet, not the calorie to your diet. That is most important for fitness. We should not reduce our volume of consumption. I think it might have been told by the previous speakers. And for a general information, what I can reinstigate is, we should not reduce our volume of food intake. We have to reduce the calorie out of the same volume. That means there we definitely fit in these mushrooms which are having less calorific value, whereas they contribute volume by adding the more of edible fiber. And if we look into the antioxidant property, there are some antioxidants like selenium, and also there are some antioxidants being fortified to the mushrooms by exposing them to the UV light, make them more fortified with the antioxidants. And if you, since they are adding volume to the food but not energy to the food, definitely they will come to very good substitute in our weight management regimes, because nowadays everybody want to be fit and look fit. For that, the weight management is a very big concept being adopted by the lifestyle. And for that, dietary supplementation with the mushroom definitely contribute a lot. And sodium and saturated fat content is also very low. That's why these mushrooms diet, now mushroom based diet, definitely help for the coronary patients as well as hypertension patients and even diabetic patients. They are sugar free also. And when another important property of these mushrooms is, they do provide the vitamin D. And anybody, if they want to follow either vegetarian diet or a vegan type of diet, I think you may know the vegan type of diet, especially the European people do follow this vegan diet. That means they will not either consume animal directly the meat, nor the any derivatives made out of the animal, including the milk and milk products. That vegan diet, for drawing their requirement of vitamin D, apart from the sunlight, the vitamin D is being specifically provided by these mushrooms, especially upon UV exposure. And the gluten free. That means, as I was mentioning in the beginning, there are vulnerable population for the gluten in the across the globe. For them also, these mushrooms definitely fit in their day-to-day diet. And if you can look into the what are the major mushrooms we can switch on for the specific requirements, like cancer fighting properties, we can name the maitake mushrooms, crimini, portabella, or oyster and white button mushrooms. Under Indian condition, oyster and white button mushrooms are plentifully available. We can definitely include them in our day-to-day diet. Whereas for immunity boosting or your memory power boosting, the shiitake mushrooms. I will explain this about the shiitake mushroom, that will provide a lanthanine and beta glucan, which helps for the immunity boosting and as well as the memory improvement. And for the lowering the cholesterol content, once again the shiitake mushrooms are outrated. Then high in vitamin D and B, we have to switch upon to the either criminis or button mushroom. Upon exposure to the UV, they will be fortified. They will have much more quantity of vitamin B and vitamin D. And these mushrooms also have the anti-inflammatory property like which is basically induced by the ergothionein which has got both anti-inflammatory and antioxidant property. And there are some mushrooms called as magic mushrooms. They are playing a very crucial role for those people who are undergoing the cancer treatment, especially the radiation therapy or chemotherapy. They do induce lot of depression and stress to the patients. And the magic mushrooms like psilocybins, they can be definitely be come to the rescue for reducing the depression as well as the treatment stress. And they do fight for aging. There are some example where the shiitake mushroom consuming people, they do look young. And this property is basically attributed to ergothionein and glutathione. And let us look into the what are the major mushrooms being produced or consumed at the global level. The number one status goes to shiitake mushrooms. And globally, the major producer of shiitake mushroom is China. In India also, there are some possibilities and some cases the shiitake mushroom is being commercially being produced. And IHR, Indian Institute of Horticulture Research, Bangalore, is also having some production technology standardization process underway. And this occupies heavily to 22% of the global production. You can imagine it's important. Basically produced in China and exported to US and European countries. This is being used for its medicinal properties besides regular mushroom characters. And another important group of mushrooms consumed globally includes oyster mushrooms. These oyster mushrooms occupy second position by contributing 19% to the global production. And these oyster mushrooms, there will be plenty of colorful variants are available with like yellow, gray, brown, blue, black, and white, and they are very tasty culinary purpose tasty. Besides, they do have the medicinal property. And under Indian condition, these are regularly being produced and consumed. But the variety, the different variations of the oyster mushrooms are not so popular. Few of like maple oyster or the white oyster are pleurotus. Basically they are produced in Indian condition. And another third most important mushroom is wood ear mushroom. This wood ear mushroom is basically we can see in a northeast India where under forest condition it grows naturally, and also there are production units, and it ranks third in the global level, contributing 18% to the global production. And they are very sticky with, they are also produced naturally. In an Indian condition, the spawn, that is the seed material, is also available as well as production technologies are available, but mainly it is restricted to northeastern states, especially the Mizoram, Assam, Manipur, where the thick forest is there. That in those regions, this mushroom is very popular. And the button mushroom, I think many of you might have seen this button mushroom. This button mushroom is also produced in India. At global level, it is ranked fourth, and it also contribute around 15%. And the major the consumers includes the European countries. In under European condition, this mushroom is very popular. And there is another unique mushroom you might have observed in any of the videos in Facebook or somewhere. It is called enoki or winter mushroom, very popular from Japan region. And this is also a temperate mushroom which contributes 11% to the global production. And there are so many research have been conducted for its unique dietary supplementation, medicinal property, and weight management and anti-aging properties. The Anoki mushrooms are very popular, are produced in Japan and being consumed in major countries like temperate countries like China and European countries. And this is the paddy straw mushroom. That is paddy straw mushroom, as the name indicates, it grows on the paddy straw medium substratum. It is around 5% of the global production, and in India, the Orissa ranks top because of the production of the availability of raw material like paddy straw, and the spawn production centers are also more, and Orissa there it is produced more and consumed also more. And the milky mushroom, it is also very popular in Indian condition, and it was first time commercialized by AHR way back in 1993, but still to pick up in the market. Main reason, there are so many good properties of these mushrooms, but we tagged them with a non-vegetarian tag, and we are avoiding them. We should create awareness among the normal population or the specific dietary requiring populations like sports persons or any age old people or the persons who are suffering from chronic diseases like diabetic or coronary disease or when hypertension. We have to educate them or bring the awareness among those people for consuming more of mushrooms. And it is typically a tropical mushroom which grows at a very high temperature. And the rest of the other mushrooms, more than 100 type of mushroom we can enlist. Apart from these above major mushrooms, we can they basically contribute around 10% to the total world production and consumption. And for your information, I would like to share some of the ready-made or we can say dietary supplemented products or fortified products are available. Developed the technology is easily available in IHR. Anybody who would like to upscale this technology definitely can explore. They have made a very good attempt by drying the mushrooms, and they are fortifying with the day-to-day diets. Because if we are feeling somewhat that meaty texture of the mushroom, where we are tagging them with a non-vegetarian tag, we are avoiding consumption. That's why they are coming out with a fortified products. I think anybody have seen these fortified products, or have you come across, or have you tasted? Response. These basically they improve the rasam mix. Anybody have come across or have tasted this fortified day-to-day products from IHR? Okay, let us, if not come across, let us see one by one, because it's really good. If you get an opportunity to be there at IHR, definitely buy some product as well. You can order for more product, or you can ask them for how to prepare your own, at your own house. Like rasam mix is there, you will not feel that it is anything. If you don't want to feel that meaty texture, you can as well directly consume your rasam mix. It is fortified with the mushrooms. Likewise, there are so many chutneys, a chutney powder being consumed in southern states of Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu, like your sesame, black sesame chutney powder, white sesame chutney powder, even the moringa leaf powder. Because nowadays moringa leaf consumption is also getting picked up. They have tried with the moringa leaf chutney powder also. These dried mushrooms are added, and your coconut chutney powder, where the coastal people do consume this coconut chutney powder. They have fortified that also. Even groundnut and flaxseed. Flaxseed consumption is also very much picking up for the persons with the coronary problems. For them also, they have come out with the fortified chutney powders. And apart from, after knowing this availability of the fortified products, they also have the portable production systems also. Definitely one can either individually, if they are affordable, they can have it, or else in groups. The small neighbors, 4 5 neighbors can definitely have this type of production systems, which can produce around monthly 25 to 28 kg, around 25 kg per month we can definitely produce. This is basically green technology, that means solar power generated outdoor mushroom growing unit, wherein you can definitely produce around 20 to 25 kg, which will be sufficient for around 4 to 5 families for a month. That type of technology definitely either for own consumption or for small scale trials for making popularizing this diet can definitely be tried. Or else in your associations, suppose any sports association is there, any sports hostels are there, and hostel facility also, definitely this unit can be brought, and we can produce around 25 to 20, 25 kg per month. That means if you can have the 2 units, and for about 50 to 100 people hostel, definitely they will be supplying you 2 to 3 times in a month. And after knowing this, there is, if you can, just I am putting some information about the costliest mushrooms. Why? Because they are the in a world market, for especially the diet conscious people paying heavily for selected mushrooms. That means they have understood the proper, the beneficial effect of such mushrooms, and they are paying in dollars. Let us know few of them, around 5 I am mentioning here. There are so many are there, but these 5 are listed as the costliest mushrooms. And the top one is in Indian Himalayan region. Let us look into this mushroom. It is called caterpillar mushroom. It is R. Asta gumbo is called. Basically, it is now locally called as caterpillar mushroom. And this very name indicates they are like looking like your 1.5 to 2 inches small caterpillars only. They are basically the ghost moth caterpillars. These ghost moth caterpillars are infected by particular fungus through head, and this, once it colonizes the ghost moth caterpillar, that caterpillar slowly start dying. While dying, it protrude from the soil, especially in the dirt, it will come out, and the people go in search, and it is very location specific. That means it is observed around 9,000 to 16,000 above MSL. That means in Himalayan foothills and Himalayan subhills, you will find these mushrooms, and the people go in search of these mushrooms. They are very tiny, around 1.5 to 2 inch, and they look similar to the dried grass. And they basically, this larva, ghost moth larvae, the caterpillar feeds on these grasses, and it dies there, and it will be standing beneath there. The people in a hillock region, they go in search of them because it pays them heavily. That means around an ounce can pay you $2,000. You imagine its importance. It is being very popular in nowadays, and there is a huge demand in international market for this caterpillar mushroom or ghost moth caterpillar mushroom. Likewise, another mushroom is there in European, that is in temperate climate. It is called, they are called truffles. Truffles, white truffles are also there, and black truffles are also there. These looks very dirty or muddy color, even though they look like that, but there is a huge hue and cry going behind trade of these truffles. They fetch around $3,600 per pound, and these truffles they are so costly because finding them itself is very high Herculean task. That means they are basically subsoil. They will be present in the below the soil, some deep into the 6 inches to 1.5 feet deep. They will be there, and finding the place where they are present, it is very difficult. That's why the harvesters or the hunters use the sniffer dogs. Sniffer dogs used to identify these truffles. Once these dogs make a sense out of presence of these truffles, they dig and they harvest these truffles. And while carrying, just like gold, if we carrying leisurely, there is a every chance of being snatched by some thieves. Similarly, these truffles get snatched by the thieves if they are not properly transported. That means there is so much demand, so much hue and cry is there for these truffles, and these basically grow in and around the or below the oak trees and below the soil. And the harvesting is the tedious process, and nutritionally they are very rich nutritional sources, and they paid heavily. The bigger the size, more the value; smaller the size, the lesser the value. And the third most costliest mushroom is your matsutake. This matsutake mushroom is also, it is from Japan, and in a particular region it is from pine trees, the red pine trees in the region of Tamba region near Kyoto, where the red pine trees are naturally growing. There these mushrooms are harvested, and they also pay priced heavily, like around 1,000 to 2,000 per dollars per pound. That means around 70 to 80,000 per pound. That means around 400 grams we have to pay around 80 to 1.6 lakh, 80,000 to 1.6 lakh. And another important costliest mushroom is the morels. These morels are also once again the forest mushrooms, but they are season bound. And basically these are noticed in US and harvested there and consumed. But here also the major challenge is harvesting them, because in a heavy forest area, thick forest area, under the fallen leaf, the shattered leaf, the dried leaf, they will be present, and it is they are camouflaged with the dried leaf. Means it is very difficult to visibly differentiate the dried leaf and these morels. That's why a skilled person need to be keenly observed for the identifying these morels naturally grown, and they have to harvest. They do, and they are very light, delicate, very delicate mushrooms, and they do fetch to around $250 per pound. And the fifth most costliest mushrooms we can enlist them is, they are called chanterelles, and these chanterelles also available naturally produced in different colors like white, yellow and orange, whereas this golden color fetches around $220 per pound. These mushrooms definitely do add nutrition, and they are really, we have to treat them as vegetarian, and they are very good source of vitamins, as well as the animal based vitamin like D, for especially those people, those who are following the vegan type of diet. That means those who does not consume any animal product or animal, even dairy products. For them, these mushrooms definitely produce lot of, or supply lot of dietary requirements. And likewise, another group of microbial food, which includes both the food products along with the microbes, which includes yeast as well as the bacteria, other two group. Either two we have studied, the mushroom and Here we are studying the bacteria as well as yeast and other things. They are called as probiotic food. I think you might have seen the Yakult being used as a probiotic food. And nowadays there is a scientific research supports the human body is not controlled by our brain. Hitherto, we were thinking that the body is being controlled by the brain, whereas now the new concept is the body, entire body is being controlled by the gut microflora. That means the diversity which is present in our intestine or gut region that decides, that controls the entire body. How? Definitely there are supporting evidences, because whatever we consume, whatever we intake, that should be added to our bloodstream before it causing the desirable effect in the other parts of the body. That gut flora which is already colonized in the intestine, that decides which nutrient should be drawn from the available food, which should be excluded based on the selection process of inclusion of the dietary fractions to the blood. That will decide the functioning of our body. That means if we consume a food containing both the dietary fractions required for your calmness, that is stress relieving, as well as stress causing. An example, if you take any the spicy foods, they do have the stress releasing property as well as stress inducing properties. That means if you take a chili example, if it is very within the limit, it will definitely soothe your organoleptic condition, and it will supplement vitamin C and your body will be get cooled. If you consume much more, it will cause your body to get sweat. That means stress inducing. That exclusion property or selective controlled inclusion property is basically decided by this gut flora. To improve this gut flora, nowadays the concept of use of probiotic foods or probiotic drinks has come to very limelight. And let us look into the some few probiotic foods which are dietarily very essential, or we can say they will add a lot of beneficial effect to properly maintaining our gut microflora, thereby maintaining our health. Let us look into one by one. The one is the very common to our country as well as throughout the world is the yogurt. Yogurt is the one best source of probiotic, and it is basically the lactic acid bacteria which uh, fractionate the casein content or the lactobacillus content in the milk, thereby make it more palatable for our digestion. This yogurt is a both nutritional as well as containing lot of bacteria. It is very healthy for day-to-day diet requirement. Likewise, there are another probiotic food is there. It is called kefir. Kefir is a once again a milled product which is fermented with adding kefir grains. Kefir grains are not like any your normal grains or any cereals or pulses. These kefir grains are nothing but they are microbial culture, bacterial culture, especially bacteria and yeast together. Their cultures, they look like your any cauliflower like structure, and they will be added to the milk to get produce the kefir. And this kefir is basically the word from the Turkish which gives the meaning of feeling good. It is also treated as one of the probiotic food being popularly used in across the globe. And another such product is or food is your sauerkraut. Sauerkraut is basically a cabbage preparation. Cabbage is prepared, that is shredded into small shreds and added with the lactic acid bacteria, and it allowed to ferment. Upon fermentation, basically the cabbage is rich in fiber, and upon fermentation, the vitamin C, B, and K added to that, and it is high in sodium content. and iron and manganese content under temperate conditions. Uh, it is being used just like our pickles. They use it, the sauerkraut, and it is also contains antioxidants like lutein and zeaxanthin. Basically, the lactic acid bacteria fermentation adds so many dietary fractions to this cabbage, shredded cabbage. And like another one is the tempeh. Tempeh is once again it's a product out of the soybean fermentation. Here the soybean it is basically originated from Indonesia, but later it is being produced consumed across the globe, especially in Asian countries. Here also the fermentation process. It will just like if you can observe in the picture, the soybean grains are covered with the growth of fungus or bacteria put together. They will give like a your appearance of your patty like or chocolate like appearance, and they will be once again the vitamin B12 content will be much higher after the fermentation process. Otherwise, the soybean grains are does not contain the vitamin B12. That means by this fermentation process with the mushroom type of flavor, it will add value to the your diet along with the probiotic microbes, tempeh. Similarly, another one probiotic food is kimchi. These probiotic foods are location specific because it's a type of grand mass preparations, and people depending upon the availability of the raw material and the climatic condition prevailing, they have developed their own system and they are identified with specific names like kimchi. It is also a Korean side dish, a probiotic side dish. It is also made out of the Chinese cabbage. This Chinese cabbage is pickled with some of the flavoring agents like pepper, garlic, and ginger. And once again, here also for fermentation, the lactobacillus kimchi is the bacteria added to this for the fermentation. After the proper fermentation, it is known to help the day-to-day digestive property, and this kimchi is very popular in Korea. Likewise, in Japan, there is another probiotic food is called miso. It is also once again a soybean product. It is fermented by a salt and with salt. A fungus is associated that is called koji. This fungus makes it a fermentation product after the addition of the salt, and sometimes it will be added with barley, rice, and rye. And this miso is very good source of protein as well as the fiber. And anyhow, the protein is basically provided by the soybean, and this fungus will add the fiber to that. And ultimately, after the fermentation process, the vitamin K, manganese, and copper content gets enhanced. And another interesting probiotic food you might have heard, there is some locality in Japan where the life expectancy in that village is more than 100 years. And a study team, upon detailed verification of their dietary pattern, they rounded upon a particular probiotic drink they are basically consuming. It is basically a fermented black tea, or you can say a green tea, and it is called kombucha. Kombucha, those people in that locality, they are consuming regularly this kombucha, and their life expectancy is around 100 years. And there are still under detailed research is going on about this kombucha, but it is very popular, and even you can find it in your online trading about this kombucha. You can, the product is also available. It's just a similar, your direct instead of direct drinking a black tea or green tea, it will ferment it, and that culture of the microbes, the yeast and bacteria, what they use, it is being preserved in that locality and being continuously used, just like you are using some curd for your day-to-day inoculation to the milk. Likewise, they maintain that culture. And similarly, another probiotic food is the pickles. Unlike our grandma's pickle or our local pickle, The basically the pickles means at a global level it is called as the gherkins, fermented gherkins. You might have seen that gherkins in Karnataka and other states. The gherkins are being produced in contact farming mode, where the farmers do produce gherkins, and we are not so accustomed to consume this. Whereas for the Western countries, especially the European countries, these gherkins are fermented in lactic acid bacteria once again, and these gherkins are very so exported to the European countries. Once again, here we can see our one of the super probiotic food, that is the traditional buttermilk. There are two types of buttermilks are being used across the globe. One is the traditional buttermilk, what we use day to day in our food, and whereas the cultured buttermilk, that it does not have the probiotic property. Whereas our traditional buttermilk, it is also called as grand mass probiotic, because in day to day culinary process in any household in village regions, they prepare the curd, and the curd is churned for the removal of butter, and whatever the leachate remains out of after removing the butter is called as buttermilk. Usually that buttermilk is used directly along with some cereals or directly drinked. This buttermilk is also rich in minerals, vitamins, and also the calcium and phosphorus. It is called as grand mass probiotic because the butter churning of the curd process and removing the butter usually done by the elders in the family like grandmas. They do take out the butter and they distribute the buttermilk to the small kids or the family members. And similarly, another product in Japan is the natto. Here also it is a once again a soybean product, soybean fermentation product, but it is here the Bacillus subtilis being used to ferment the soybean, and it is served with the rice, especially the sticky rice, which is consumed in Japan and other part of the China, where this is little bit slimy. That means you can see after the fermentation process, this bacillus bacteria do produce some sliminess. It adds some sliminess to the texture of the soybean, and it will make the soybean is very softened, and along with the rice they will directly consume this natto, and this natto is rich in protein provided by the soybean, whereas the vitamin K2 and also other vitamins are enriched after the fermentation process. And they believe that this consumption of natto will enhance our bone health as well as the cardiovascular health. Similarly, and nowadays in Indian food preparations also, we are seeing the use of cheese. Otherwise, we were getting lot of direct milk, curd, buttermilk, and butter. We are not accustomed to produce the cheese. Whereas in the Western countries, to preserve them, to preserve the fat and other the vitamins out of the milk, because milk cannot be stored for a longer period, they have evolved their own property of developing a cheese. And the simple cheese, as we know that it gets rancid upon contact with the air and moisture, it will get rancid. To preserve the cheese, that is the fat portion and other nutrient portion of the milk, they have adopted the fermentation process. Once again, there are so many varieties of fermentation process which are location specific or identify or just like your geotagging or geological indicator, they have been identified with a particular location. And basically, this the fermentation process, depending upon the prevailing weather, the specific either fungus or bacteria known to colonize this cheese and make them ferment it. While the process of fermentation, they will preserve the further decay of the cheese. And basically fermentation, we can simply say put it across like preoccupying the food, preoccupying the food with a desired microbe, and avoiding the colonization of the bad microbes. Let me repeat, fermentation is a process of pre-inoculating and establishing the desired microbes in a food so that we can avoid the development of or colonization of bad microbes in that food. Just like your pickle, in your in your home, if you are preparing a pickle and if something goes wrong, you will see the sliminess or you will see the fungus. If the salt content is less, you may see the fungus. If the moisture content is more, you may see the sliminess attributed by the bacteria, and if the salt content is less, you will see the fungal growth. That means undesired microbes will grow and they will make the food is unpalatable. To avoid that, we are controllably or intentionally allowing the particular microbe to colonize the food, do the work for us like fermentation, and avoid the further decay of the food. That is the total process of the fermentation. And in like similarly here, this cheese also, to avoid the rancidity of the milk product, that the cheese, we are the locality specific colonization of the cheese is very popular. The famous cheeses which are popular across the globe are your mozzarella. You might have seen the advertisement of Domino's pizza. They will say it is been topped with mozzarella or cheddar cheese or even cottage cheese like that. And these cheese are very rich in calcium, vitamin B12, phosphorus and selenium. Selenium is anti-aging as well as anti-aging property. And this consumption, once again this cheese concept has evolved because during the off season, to get the dietary requirement, especially the dairy component requirement, this cheese being popularly used. And basically this is all I was planned, and I was not intended to cover it contains this much. That information definitely you will find it in, if you google it. And I was planning to introduce you what are the different diversities of microbial foods available. If you understand their properties and what for they are consumed or what are their potentials, definitely it is a worth information. And the nutrient requirement, it is definitely you will get it once you google it. And the linking to the topic is because in a day-to-day diet we are not supposed to, or we are not draw our entire nutrient by basically relying upon either cereals, pulses, fruits or something else. We can definitely use these microbes. The microbes like fungus, like mushrooms, they are produced out of the waste. The agricultural waste, we have abundant agricultural waste. The only problem is we are not properly managing it. We are not properly exploring the waste, cellulotic waste for the production of the mushroom. Because if you just imagine, in China they are consuming 22 kg per annum, means per capita. Suppose if you assume, if you are substituting your total annual requirement with the 22 kg of mushrooms, means it's definitely the food grain requirement will be drastically reduced, or with this lesser food grains also we can manage. Likewise, the pickling agent or probiotic foods in our especially in southern states, we have the tradition of consuming the at least curd or buttermilk at the end of the every meal. Why? Because it contains lot of bacteria, and it is, once if you consume this bacteria, they will help us to digest the whatever the food we took. And also they will avoid being lethargic. That means they will give instant some energy, so that we will not be lethargic after the lunch or dinner. And this is the main supplementation of these microbes. And when if you look into the specific population, that is a sports person is there whose bones are important skeletal structures, whose and stress relieving properties are required. Under such circumstances, these microbial foods definitely adds, and these fermented foods definitely they are rich in many of the vitamins and other antioxidants. They help in our health maintenance, and these mushrooms definitely the what is called a weight management regime, they will definitely fit in. This is what I was planned to share with you. If there are any questions, let me know. Thank you for being patient listening. Let me know any questions are, any clarifications are there. There is a one question about, can we give the mushrooms to the children or under age of the 3? Only thing is, there are some people are allergic to these mushrooms, some component of mushroom. That's why once after the adolescence, definitely we can give, but after the adolescence, around 5 to 6 years of age, it is better to give, or else you can contact your pediatrician. As I know, definitely they can be provided to after the 6 years. Definitely. So, how to identify this poisonous mushroom? There, once again, it requires some around 10-15 minutes to explain. I was not intentionally added that portion because it is better the available, the commercially available mushroom can be utilized. The basic difference between these poisonous mushrooms and these edible mushrooms is there the place of, if you say looking for the naturally grown mushrooms, where they are grown. If they are near to wood or near to soil region, basically they are good. If there is any rotten animal or something like that, it is there in the nearby that place, if they are growing, we have to avoid them. And there is a information is available, I have not included. If you want, definitely I will share. In the market we see some kind of dread, definitely, because the mushroom, if you freeze them and if you maintain the cold chain, we can uh, keep for long period and as well as transport for a distant location. If there is a glut in the market, they have come out with a technology, I have not shown in IHR, they have come out with a technology of dryer, where you can dry the mushrooms. Those dried mushrooms, as good as our dried fruits. If you just rehydrate them, they will be your normal mushrooms, or else you can make them powder. You can fortify. Just I was showing some fortified product. Na? For such products, you can definitely fortify it, or you can add directly to the sambar. If you are not comfortable with the meaty texture, you can dry them, you can add to the sambar and any of the preparations. Um, Dried mushroom, definitely they are good, because it is only we are dehydrating. If you rehydrate it, it is the normal mushrooms, or else you can powder it, you can, yes, boil. Yes, definitely. You just keep it in normal water, cold water, allow it to rehydrate it. Then you can cook for as usual the fresh mushrooms. Keep keep it in normal water, soak it in normal water, allow it. Then you can cook as a normal mushrooms.
Okay, sir. Sir, here in YouTube chat box, there are some questions from participants. Mushroom comes as a plant kingdom.
Yes, definitely. I mentioned mushrooms comes in a plant kingdom. Why? Because they are grouped under the fungus only. And the basic definition of fungus is a plant without true root and shoots and devoid of chlorophyll. That is the basic definition of a fungus, and mushrooms comes under the fungus.
Now, another question in the YouTube chat box. Explain the medicinal values of mushroom, sir.
Yes, I think I have covered in the top, presentation.
Yes.
They are rich source of vitamins. Apart from which they are having the anti-cancerous property, antioxidant property, and anti-aging property, and they do add lot of volume to your diet without adding the calorie to the diet, thereby making helping in the weight management regime. These are all the properties.
What is the main source of mushroom, sir? Is it gives energy? Another question. Main source of mushroom, is it gives energy?
Basically, the mushroom we are relying upon for its fiber content. Apart from fiber content, protein and its vitamin content. Protein and vitamin, basically vitamin and fiber, and they does not supplement fat or cholesterol.
So that means
Calorific is value is also very less. That's why diabetic people can also use them.
So the main source of mushroom is the rich in fiber, sir.
Rich in fiber.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, how best a sportsman can add in this in his diet, sir?
Definitely, sportsmen, uh, they definitely use lot of energy rich drinks or energy rich food to meet the energy requirement, but they will be volume is very less. If they consume any dry fruit juice or any fruit juice, the volume will not be there. They will definitely produce lot of energy to the sportsman, but the volume is, why I am stressing volume is, for intestinal bowel movement the volume is must. Unless there is a proper intestinal health, that is bowel movement, the health you cannot sustain for long. That's why these mushrooms definitely fit in. They will not give much energy, but definitely they will add volume to your diet, thereby helping the detoxifying mechanism of the body. That is very much required for a sports person, because if you consume lot of energy, if you burn a lot of calorie, that means body will produce lot of toxins. The detoxification process mainly requires dietary fibers. The mushrooms provide lot of dietary fiber.
Yes, sir. Another question in Google chat box. How to use the mushroom and how? Okay,
Right. I
okay.
understand this.
You have answered that, sir. How much the quantity one can consume per day, sir?
Per day, we can say around the 80 to 100 gram fresh weight we can consume for an adult, the elderly adult. And barley water could be a good nutrition supplement.
Yes, sir.
Barley water, here we are basically looking for fermented. If it is fermented, we will definitely say. If not fermented, directly drinking, because you might have observed there is fermented rice in China and Japan. They go for fermented rice. They cook, they soak the seeds, cereal seeds, and allow it to ferment. After that, they will consume it. If that is the case, definitely they can use. Otherwise, it is direct drinking will add carbohydrate.
Sir. Sir, another question, sir, from the participant. Awareness of mushroom as a veg food is essential in nowadays, sir.
Yes, definitely. That is why I took this topic for introducing and mainly concentrating on the mushrooms, because we have tagged that with a non-vegetarian tag, and many people avoiding it, and the neighboring countries and many part of the world, they are relying considerably on the mushrooms, and we people are avoiding it. Better to take out that stigmatization of non-vegetarian linked to that linked to these mushrooms, and better to consume it for their good healthy benefits.
Okay, sir. Any questions, dear participant? Please ask. It's now discussion time also. You can ask the questions, any clarification you can ask, because this is a new concept for the sports background persons. Resource person. Anybody? Any questions? You can ask orally. Any questions? You can put it in chat box also, or else you can ask a question orally. So open discussion now.
Hello.
Hello.
sir.
Tell me, sir.
Sir, I am Basuraj.
Sir.
Natural growing mushroom and artificial growing mushroom. Contents are any difference content?
So, as such, there are analysis does not indicate any difference. Basically, these mushrooms, edible mushrooms, utilize the cellulose content. Either we provide through paddy straw or through wood, it does make hardly any difference. Definitely, there will be some insignificant difference will be there, but it is not so significant. And in Indian commonly grown oyster mushrooms are your milky mushrooms. Once upon exposure to the UV, then only whatever the vitamin content will be get enhanced.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir. Basavaraj, sir. Is it clear,
Okay.
sir?
Okay, sir.
Sir, any questions you can ask for the participants. It's a unique concept. Sir, another question, sir, here. Can we make a sweet out of mushroom, sir?
Um, as such, I have also not come across the sweet preparations out of mushrooms because of the some sort of earthy taste or earthy flavor it adds to the food preparations. It is avoided in the sweet preparation. Basically, either salt based or your spicy food are prepared out of the mushrooms.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you for explaining the doubts of the participants. And if there is no questions, then it's time for the conclusion of the session. Any questions, dear participants? Any questions? If no questions, it's time for the wind up. So, an instruction for the participants. We have only one feedback from for this event. There is no daily feedback form. Only one feedback form will be given at the end of the 10th day or 10th day morning itself. And you have to answer the quiz. Hmm? Quiz is the most important. Those who answer quiz, that is the priority for the sessions attendance itself. Hmm? Please attend the quiz also time to time. The questions will be given to the WhatsApp. That means link of the questions will be given to the WhatsApp group itself. If your colleagues or your friends or your friend or any teachers who are missing out of that WhatsApp group, please send the link also. I have shared some WhatsApp links to the in the chat box itself and also to the groups. Please make sure that WhatsApp group is there. I have communicated through WhatsApp group itself, and also I will email. Please give the email ID properly. Okay, this is the all instructions to the participants. Thank you for the patience hearing. Sir, once again I thank behalf of organizing secretary and organizers, behalf of College of Horticulture Mundrabad Koppal, and also from the University of Horticulture Science Bagalkote. Thank you, sir. Thank for giving me such a wonderful presentation of mushroom, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I thank the organizer for giving the opportunity to share my views about this topic.